In Capital News tonight, the government has launched a 700 billion shillings food stability project in the country. Norwegian investors to invest in fertilizer production in Tanzania. And in sports news, boxer Agina Kayange starts preparations to fight Stumai Mwiki on 30th September. A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Carlos Banda. First, the national news. Tanzania has launched a food stability project worth more than 700 billion shillings, funded by a long-term loan from the World Bank that aims to bring about development changes in the agricultural sector that include construction of irrigation infrastructure, particularly for small farmers.
So the first approach is to make farmers being busy. The narration of environment has to be hand-to-hand with the wealth creation, that they are protecting environment so that their lives can be improved. How much is going to increase their pockets? For a very long time, we're talking about nutrition, the global discussion about nutrition and the programs about nutrition. And in our country, the areas with the problem of nutrition are the food basket of the Tanzania. So ask yourself, kwa nini Njombe, Mbeya, Southern Highland ndio wanaongoza kwa utapiamlo?
As a World Bank, we're also very privileged and honored to be able to contribute to Tanzania's and the region's agriculture and food sectors. Tanzania, like other countries in the region, recognizes the agri-food sector as one of the core sources of inclusive economic growth and rural poverty reduction. Agriculture in Tanzania employs more than 50% of the population. Specifically, the sector accounts for approximately 27% of GDP, 25% of exports, 65% of inputs to the industrial sector, 61% of workforce, up to 95% of the food requirements.
In agriculture, we are going to improve the livelihood of our fellow Tanzanians. We as the parliament have seen, since you came into power, you have almost increased by 3 times the budget for agriculture. We really support that, and we, as the committee, responsible not only for allocations and approval of your budgets, but we are also responsible for monitoring and evaluating your work. And for that, the financial supporters, the World Bank, we are delighted to tell you that you should rest. The money, the funds will be properly used.
Long-distance lorry drivers transporting various cargo across the border between Tanzania and Kenya at Holili in Rombo District, Kilimanjaro region have called on the government to control rising fuel prices, a situation that is causing them to look for fuel in neighboring Kenya.
Kutokana na changamoto hii ya mafuta iliyoko kwenye nchi yetu, mara nyingi kiukweli kama sisi tunajazia mafuta upande wa Kenya, kwa sababu kwanza hata kama bei yao itakuwa iko chini au juu, lakini bado huduma inakuwa iko pale pale.
Sasa changamoto tunayopata hapa kwa upande wa mafuta, sasa tulikuwa tunakunywa mafuta pande ya Tanzania, lakini kwa sasa vile bei imepanda, hatuwezi tukanywa hapa tena mafuta kwa sababu juu ya bei. Hivi matransporter, mabosi wetu wanatafutaga sehemu iko mafuta bei kidogo, bei nafuu, ndio wanaweza kunywa mafuta, lakini kwa sasa hatuwezi kunywa Tanzania tena. Juu umepandisha mafuta hivi, tutakuwa tunakunywa Kenya ama tunakunywa Rwanda.
Still in the fuel saga, following concerns on the fuel situation witnessed in various parts of the country, the Energy and Water Utilities Regulatory Authority, EWURA, has assured that there are ships lined up to make sure that fuel reserves are filled up once the current stock runs out after 19 days.
I should declare that we have enough fuel. We have 19 days stock for fuel. And the public somehow is concerned. They are thinking that having a 19 days stock, when that day elapses, then you have a dry country. But the situation is, when you say you have 19 days stock, it means other fuel consignments are coming. Other ships are offloading. And according to the law, we are required to have 15 days stock at any given time. Now, if someone announces that we have 19 days, that we have enough more than what the law requires us. Now, what is happening? Why some areas we see as if there are still no fuel? Fuel business is like a pipe water. If that pipe is not filled well, there should be some shortages of supply of water. And even although petrol stations are being built in different areas, but they need to be filled from one place to another place. Now refilling starts from Dar es Salaam. It will go to Morogoro, it will go to Dodoma, it will go to another region. Then at the end, the whole country becomes wet.
Ewura also says measures are being taken to deal with the unscrupulous fuel retailers who are alleged to hoard their stocks in order to bring the fuel prices up.
Some of the untrusted traders, they have been hiding fuel in the tanks. Some of them, they are not opening their fuel outlets, and we have caught some of them. And we have almost 12 petrol station dealers whom we are interrogating why difficult measures shouldn't be taken to them. They were holding the products for the aim that once the price is coming, which they thought it would be higher, then they could make money. But unfortunately for the petrol, the increment has been only 14 shillings. Which is different from their expectation because they thought it would go probably a liter to 400. But things have changed. We believe 2 days, 3 days to come, things will be all right. But we have some measures that we are making to make sure that this situation don't recur again. One of the measures, every retail petrol stations must have a contract with the wholesaler. And that we are going to implement very heavily.
Now, heading to Dodoma, the Parliament of the United Republic of Tanzania has approved the Miscellaneous Amendment Bill number 3 of the 2023, which, among other things, aims to come up with the laws that will develop investment in special zones in order to increase exports.
Lengo la marekebisho yanayopendekezwa ni kuhakikisha kuwa sheria husika zinatekelezwa na waziri mwenye dhamana na masuala husika kwa mujibu wa hati idhini ya mgawanyo wa majukumu ya mawaziri ambayo hutolewa na rais. Kwa sasa sheria hizi zinamtafasiri waziri kama waziri mwenye dhamana na viwanda.
Sasa kwa nini katibu mkuu husika hayupo? Ni kwa sababu waziri wa sekta husika ndiye mwenyekiti. Kwa hivyo kawaida unapomwona waziri kimsingi unamwona katibu mkuu, kwa sababu anayemwandaa waziri ni katibu mkuu. Kwa hiyo kimsingi katibu mkuu wa sekta husika yupo. Na kawaida huwa anahudhuria vikao. Sio mjumbe, lakini katibu mkuu huwa anahudhuria.
Now, in Tanga region, herds of elephants have caused destruction of more than 30 acres of crops, as well as some houses, after entering 3 villages in Gobero ward, Mkinga district, Tanga region.
Waliingia shambani kwetu wakachukua mahindi gunia 10. Sisi tukatoka na watoto wetu tukakimbia usiku kwa usiku. Sisi ndo tukaamua kuondoka shambani mpaka sasa hivi. Hatuna tena amua kulima.
Kuna minazi ambayo yani ishaanza kuzaa zaidi ya 20, yote imevunjwa, imelala chini. Kuna mifenesi, kuna miembe, yote imeathiriwa, michungwa na mkonge eka 16 ambazo zimekanyagwa na wameathiri sana. Kuna miwa ambayo tumeipanda, miwa mingi tukaribia eka 2, yote imeliwa na tembo. Sasa cha kushangaa sana ni toka mwezi wa 7 tembo wamo humu wana nani.
Niwaambie tu wananchi kwamba hili jambo linashughulikiwa. Kama mnavyoniona niko barabarani, niko nanyi na nakwenda Kisangani kushika swala hilo, na kwa bahati nzuri swala hili mkurugenzi wangu Zara Msangi analishughulikia.
In the past 10 years, Tanzania's coral reefs have been growing steadily due to efforts by stakeholders and the surrounding communities along the coast to restore them. This was revealed by Alan Sutton, a sea diver in Dar es Salaam, in an interview with Capital Television on the rising sea temperatures and unfriendly human activities along the coastal areas.
And these corals can take quite extreme temperature variations. The corals that live a little bit deeper, they don't really like to have too much of a temperature change. If the temperature goes over 26 degrees centigrade, that's the temperature that nearly all corals are happy at. If the temperature goes too high, above 26 centigrade, then the corals start to die. Now, in 1998 and 2016 in Tanzania, for reasons that are very difficult to explain, but perhaps going back to changes in ocean currents in the Pacific, we had very hot water here. And that caused a lot of the corals in the shallows to die off. And that was both in 1998 and 2016. Other than that, we've actually been quite lucky with the corals in Tanzania because the water temperature's been fine. So far, Tanzania's been very lucky with regards to our corals and heat. What's caused most of the damage to the corals in Tanzania is, unfortunately, dynamite fishing.
And now for our special report from Germany. The German economy is not in a good state. Exports fell last month and the situation remains volatile. A new nationwide poll has shown Germans are concerned and pessimistic about the economic situation. DW correspondent from Berlin, Thomas Sparrow, has more on this story. Thomas, how bad is the situation, and is Germany, as many media outlets are discussing, the sick man of Europe again?
It depends essentially who you ask. Some economists here in the country have said that the economic situation is darkening or worsening and have explained that compared to other advanced economies, Germany's economy is performing comparatively poorly. However, others have stressed that some of the measures that have been implemented by the government have either helped to improve the economy or at least to make sure that the economy does not perform even poorer. And they have indeed stressed that one element that can be highlighted there is the fact that inflation has reduced in the past months. Inflation here in the country is around 6%, which may be low compared to other parts around the world, but which is high for German standards. One issue that is particularly problematic here is the industry. The industry is one of the cornerstones of German economic output, and as such, exports here in Germany have fallen in recent months, and is one of the areas which is of particular concern for economists, for experts, and also for the German government.
And how is the government reacting to this? Are there any plans tabled?
Obviously concerned about the economic situation, and in fact the coalition members met last week for a two-day retreat, in part to discuss how they could deal with this very difficult economic situation. It is important to stress that Germany's economic output, Germany's economic power is not only important for Germany and for Germany's international standing, it's also important for the European Union as a whole, for European countries that are very closely linked to Germany in political and economic terms. Hence, the need for the German government to really present concrete measures to deal with these economic difficulties, in particular when it comes, for example, to energy prices or to how citizens should be helped when it comes to daily goods, to daily needs, because many citizens have indeed expressed their concerns about how this economic situation, this overall economic situation, is affecting specific households as well.
Understanding that, as you said, that this economic slump is really affecting the Germans directly, and some households are really feeling the pinch. What are the thoughts among the Germans? Are there any concerns within the population?
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at several polls that have been revealed, presented in the last few days and weeks, and one in particular, a nationwide poll that was presented last week, a majority of Germans stress that they're concerned about the economic situation, and they also believe that the economic situation in the future could actually worsen. And when Germans were asked what the biggest challenge is for the country now, they didn't mention, for example, the war in Ukraine or climate change. That was further down the list. The biggest issue for Germans was undoubtedly the current economic situation. And this is also playing a role, by the way, in what Germans think about the current government, and in particular the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, not having very good numbers in polls, in their favorability numbers. So this is also something that the German government is obviously trying to include, how exactly Germans are thinking about the economic situation in the country.
And what will be the implication for persons who have migrated to Germany in search of greener pastures, especially Africans?
It is interesting because this nationwide poll that I mentioned also revealed that among the biggest challenges for Germany, according to Germans, is migration, in fact, in second position after the economic output, after the economic situation. And in a way, these two topics are related, because the German government has indeed placed and has indeed presented proposals to attract skilled workers that can fill specific gaps here in Germany that are needed in several professions. This is in fact one of the key proposals by the German government, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, how to attract skilled workers that could fill exactly those gaps. Related to this is also how to make dual nationality, or how to make immigration also easier and less bureaucratic. So the German government is also hoping that by attracting skilled workers from other parts of the world, they could also help, in a way, the economic situation here in the country, in particular in those professions that are in desperate need of skilled workers.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing that insightful situation concerning the German economy. Ladies and gentlemen, that story winds up the national news for tonight. We'll take a short break and return for business stories. Welcome back, and now it's time to go business mode. Starting off with our first story, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture, David Silinde, has said that fertilizer producers from Norway have started processes to establish fertilizer industries in the country, a development that will address the problem of fertilizer shortage and increase agricultural productivity.
Kitu kimoja ambacho Watanzania wanatakiwa wafahamu kwamba uzalishaji wa mbolea ni process, na mpaka kwa mfano kuja kujenga kiwanda inahitaji muda. Sasa kuna mikakati ya hatua za awali, muda wa kati na muda mrefu. Mikakati ya muda mrefu ni pamoja na kuwa na kiwanda nchini ambacho kitakuja kusaidia kuongeza uzalishaji mkubwa wa mbolea. Lakini mikakati ya mwanzo ni pamoja na kuongeza kasi ya uagizaji wa mbolea, yani uagizaji wa mbolea nchini ambao utasaidia kupeleka kwa wananchi. Kitu hicho unaona kampuni ya Yara imekuwa ikifanya vizuri, na mimi mwenyewe nimekuwa nikishuhuda. Wametuonyesha hata pale trend yao, jinsi ambavyo watakuwa wanapokea mzigo, wanapaki na kusambaza kwenda kwa wananchi.
We know how the food insecurity is rising, especially in this part of the world, because of higher living costs, partly due to the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Norway is committed to being a long-term partner with the Tanzanian government on this. We congratulate you for your ambitious plans, and we are eager to continue our long-term, very close partnership.
It's all about nutrition to the plants, because plants are just like us humans. We need nutrition to grow and to be healthy. And for us, it's about having a farmer-centric approach. And here in Tanzania, it's really been a cooperation with the government dating back to 2004 in how to approach this in a farmer-centric way, also in close cooperation with the Norwegian government to develop this. And
now, heading to the trading sector, the Minister of Industry and Trade, Dr. Ashatu Kijaji, has reiterated that Tanzania will not close its borders and stop exportation of crops, as the government recognizes that there are countries that depend on Tanzania for food.
We will not close our borders so that we can make our neighbors get the food, but also get the food, and we are prepared to make the world get the food from Tanzania. So we are just putting that one is efficiency in our production, but when we increase our efficiency in production, we will make the world get the food from Tanzania. And coming to the cross-border trade and costs and other transaction costs that our key stakeholders are facing while trading through Tanzania, we understand, we ministers for trade.
Access to finance, fertilizer, improved seed, the water issue, irrigation issue, the mechanization. Still we are in a very traditional way of agriculture. And there are also infrastructure issues. So when we are just thinking about agriculture and the food system, we have to think end to end. We have to see things in the middle. Otherwise, elevating the farming and improving the seed and providing and supplying the fertilizer will not only address the whole challenge that is seen in the agriculture sector.
Sticking on to the issue on trade and exports, concerning the agricultural food summit that is ongoing, youths have been called on to look for opportunities at the ongoing Africa Food Systems Forum in Dar es Salaam that will help them venture into projects which will increase productivity and generate incomes.
Vice President for HEFA in Africa, and I'm excited to be here for this event. We think that Ayute is an idea that should have been in the continent for a very long time, right? African youth have demonstrated their innovation in many sectors. We've gone past the time where we think that our young people cannot contribute to our continent. We've seen them do a lot of innovative things in other sectors. However, agriculture has been a sector that the young people have not seen themselves functioning in or even leading into the future. And so Ayute is trying to bring in that energy, but also uncover the opportunities. The challenge also is that agriculture is not driven by technology, especially at the last mile. So being able to bring in the partners, the innovators, and thinking about the kind of funding that is necessary for everyone in the ecosystem to be able to drive a thriving, tech-enabled agricultural sector at the last mile is key.
And that story concludes the business news for tonight. We'll take a short break and return for sports news. Glad to have you back. And now sports news. Boxer Egina Kayange has started preparations for the 10th round match against Tumai Mwiki, scheduled for September 30th this year in Mwanza.
Mashabiki zangu nadhani wanaelewa. Nikishasema Imbombo Ngafu anajua anaenda kufanya nini. Kwa hiyo naomba waje kwa wingi kututazama Mwanza kwenye pambano special kabisa la kike ambalo ni la pekee. Raundi 10 tunaenda kuzipiga. Watarajie ushindi unarudi Manzese. Yaani Manzese stand up. Sina kupoa mimi. Yeye aje anavyokuja ndivyo anavyopokelewa. Kwa mimi nimejiandaa kukabiliana naye. Vyovyote atakavyokuja, aje vyovyote anavyokuja, lakini kupigwa anapigwa. Yaani naenda kumnyanyasa. Unajua kunyanyasa? Yule naenda kumnyanyasa. Sisemi naenda kumpiga KO, ila naenda kumnyanyasa. Naenda kupiga mimi ninapopataka. Sio yeye, yani naenda kupiga ninapopataka. Hajakutana na bondia anapiga, lakini mimi naenda kupiga ninapopataka. Yani sio bondia kusema mimi namfikiria eti siwi nini. Nimeshakutana na vyama kuliko yeye.
All right. Former national team goalie Juma Pondamali has urged Taifa Stars players to make sure they do not allow easy goals when they face Algeria in the AFCON qualifiers on Thursday.
Mpira siwape muda mrefu wacheze wao. Mpira wao wanyang'anyi wawe na wao. Stars ule mpira wawe na wao. Kwa sababu gani? Ile ndio marking ya kwanza. Marking ya kwanza katika mpira, adui yako mnyime mpira. Uona wewe ucheze sana wewe. Unapopa mpira wacheze wao afu nyinyi mnafukuza, inakuwa sababu nawapa nafasi ya kutafuta zile spaces za kuweza kuscore.
The Dar es Salaam Rotary Club has handed footballs, desks and books to Mtakuja Primary School, being measures to support efforts in developing education and sports sectors.
Wageni wetu kutoka Rotary wametuletea mipira kadhaa kwa ajili ya kuendeleza michezo na kusapoti juhudi za Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania katika swala zima la kuendeleza michezo mashuleni na kwa taifa kwa ujumla.
Wametukabidhi madawati 100, wametukabidhi mipira 10, wametukabidhi vitabu 500 pamoja na peni kwa ajili ya wanafunzi. Peni ziko peni 1000.
Pia kama Rotary Club pia tumeweza kutoa mipira 10 ambayo itasaidia michezo katika njia mojawapo ya kusaidia jamii, pia watoto katika shule tunasapoti pia michezo.
Kama vitabu tutatumia kusoma ili kufaulu mitihani yetu, na kama mpira tutatumia kuchezea, kujifurahisha, kuweka viungo vizuri.
And that sports item brings our news bulletin for a close for tonight. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.
Watch Capital News at 9:30 and get updated on what is happening in Tanzania and around the world on political, social, and economic issues and events, without forgetting business and sports news. You can get it all right here on Capital News at 9:30 from Monday to Friday on Zuku Channel 067, Digitech Channel 1103 and Facebook Capital Television Tanzania.
Naam, habari za wakati huu mtazamaji wetu wa ITV Super Brand Afrika Mashariki pamoja na msikilizaji wa Radio 1, karibu katika kipindi cha dakika 45. Kipindi hiki kinakujia kila siku za wiki, muda na wakati kama huu, na hapa huwa tunawalika geni mbalimbali. Hiyo tunazungumza mambo kutokana na mgeni husika ambaye tunakuwa tumemwalika katika kipindi hiki cha dakika 45. Kwa niaba ya wenzangu wote ambao tutashirikiana kwa pamoja kukuletea kipindi hiki, mimi ni Farhia Midle, karibu. Na leo hii mtazamaji pamoja na msikilizaji tumepata bahati ya kumtembelea mzee wetu, mzee Cleopa David Msuya. Huyu ni waziri mkuu mstaafu hapa nyumbani kwake Upanga jijini Dar es Salaam.